welcome. I think this is a good time to talk about it. Let's talk about it, chat. Is negative crowd engagement in the middle of a match okay or not okay? Or is the Smash community too soft because they've had issues with it in the past? Is the FGC toxic because they allow this sort of thing to happen? I disagree with both. I think it's a nuanced conversation, right? So, for example, I am of the opinion that it is my job to perform regardless of what's going on with the crowd. I am here choosing to play this game and compete in it at a high level. And the way it works at the high level is that you have crowds who watch, you have crowds who get hyped, and it is my job to deal with that as just another hurdle that I have to overcome to win my match. And you know what? I've talked about it before where people say, oh, just wait till live events come back. People will be performing differently, like Hungrybox, for example. Part of that is true specifically because outside factors like the crowds and people yelling can affect some players more than others. Some people thrive in it. Some people break down in it. Mewtwo King is the type of player that breaks down in it. I think a lot of up-and-coming players break down in it because they're not used to having people cheer against them because people didn't care about them before until they started performing, and now people have a reason to cheer against them or cheer for them, and that shakes them up. It happens all the time. You'll see a player hit top 20, and then once they hit top 20, they kind of fall off a little bit, and the hype starts to die, but then they're like, okay, I figured this crowd thing out, let me move back up on the list again. Right? You got nothing to lose when you're moving up the list, but once you're there, and you have crowds like this that are invested in you losing, that's when you start to fall, right? So, in my opinion, it is your job to overcome the crowd. Now, where it is not okay, where I actually draw a line, where it actually upsets me, number one, no touching. Touching can never happen. You should never be so close to the players that they feel physically crowded by you or like you're bumping into them, obviously, right? Number two, here's another line. The loudness cannot be like to the decibels where it's actually like extremely distracting or painful, right? Like if someone's in my ear like, you suck! Like clearly that's not okay, right? But that's on the tournament to have rules or measures where people aren't all up in your face. With those two lines that I draw for myself, I never have a problem with crowds while I'm on stage. Crowds never bother me while I'm on stage. But when I'm in like pools or I don't have a stage match, that's when it annoys me because I got to deal with the layout of the tournament and you have like people crowded around me and you're on this tiny setup. They're all around you and everything they say and yell is right next to you and there's no TOs to really stop them. It's just the nature of grassroots, right? Like we just don't have private setups to play, so it is what it is. Luckily, I play Samus, so sometimes like people don't watch my matches because they'd rather watch like West Balls versus Axe, right? This is like, oh, Samus against Peach? I don't need to watch that. I'm like, good. Let me play this shit by myself. But when I play like the hometown hero, I already know what's going to go down. I actually specifically look for corner setups when I know I'm about to play a match that's going to have a crowd so that I have the most amount of breathing room, right? In a corner setup, the crowd could get a little further back without getting in the way of other setups. And then there's more space in the corner, so I get to like back up from the TV and make some room. I always play backed up from the TV so that people can't be too close to me or squeeze me into the setup. I've only said something to an annoying crowd member like twice. And one time was when this person was just being too loud and I just turned to him and I was like, yo, I don't care if you're saying whatever, but just a little bit, just tone it down a little bit. And I'll talk to them like that and they'll usually respect it. They'll be like, all right, my bad. But then the other one, there was this high school kid who was doing an interview for his school. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. He's like, I'm doing a project for my class. I want to interview like professional players. Would you be down? I'm like, yeah, sure. And he asked me some of the worst questions I've ever been asked. So I got tired of interviews because I'm supposed to be warming up. And then they're asking me, so why do you like Samus? I enjoyed Metroid as a kid. Okay. Why the name Hugs? Because my name's Hugo. People called me Huggies or Huggles or something like that in high school, so I just picked Hugs. Cool. Do you think you're washed up? I'm like, no, I don't think I'm washed up. I think I'm pretty good. Next question. Like, he's asking me these questions, right? I'm like, all right, just keep your cool, Hugo. He's a high school kid. He's just being a nice guy. I'll just answer the questions. I'll move on. I'll do him this favor. And then he's like, oh, thank you so much, Hugs. I appreciate it. I'm like, yeah, no problem, kid. See you around. And then I go and I sit down and I'm playing my set. And in the middle of the set, I'm like having a close match with this Peach. And then I hear this. I hear this in the background.
Yo, Hugo, that's my dog. But I gotta hit a sub goal, though.
I'm like, hold up. Why am I hearing this right now? This doesn't make sense. Hold on. There's no way that someone is literally disrespecting me this much by playing this song on speakers. Speakers, not a phone. Speakers in the middle of my set. And I'm like, I'm not going to worry about it. Like I said, it's my job to overcome the crowd. I'm just going to keep playing. So I play through the noise and I win the match and I turn around. The song's still going. Song's still going. I turn around, and you know who it is? It's the same fucking kid who I did the interview with, holding up the speakers, and he's smiling at me. He's smiling at me. Like I'm just gonna turn around and be like, haha, good job, kid. That's really funny. I love the diss track. You're so funny, kid. In my mind, I was like, didn't I just do an interview with you? Didn't I just waste my time not warming up so I could do an interview with you? And I just stared at him. I'm like, yo, stop that. And then he realized I wasn't joking, and he's like, oh. And then he turned it off because I didn't find it funny for some reason. And then I had to cool all the way down because at that point I was so mad that I might have lost the set. So I cooled down. And then I won the set. Those are the only 2 times I've ever had something to say to the crowd. But otherwise, do you guys agree with my lines? My 2 lines are, cannot be so loud that it's like almost physically distracting, and no touching. Otherwise, crowds can say a lot. Now, I think it is totally fine for people to be upset about crowds saying shit like, I fucked your mom last night, or like, yo, your girlfriend sucked my dick, or whatever bullshit they're saying, right? I think you're allowed to have a problem with that because we should still be better than that, right? Yeah, personal jabs, I guess, is another line. It's like, dude, I've heard people call players fat while they're playing, and it's like, dog, what the fuck does that have to do with the game, right? You could say my Samus is ass. You could say I'm shook. You could say whatever the hell you want about the game. But don't get personal. I think that's where it's stupid. I think there are some people in the fighting game community or even Smash who disagree and think you should be allowed to say anything. I still think you shouldn't get personal. I think we should be better and have just like a line. Just a line. And I don't think it's that bad of a line. You can literally say, and like this is totally fine. This is fine. In fact, I might be laughing. If I'm playing in this set and they are this in sync and aligned, I'm gonna be impressed, dog. I'm gonna clap. I'm gonna be like, yo, this is great. I'm still winning, but this is great. Yeah, keep it in the game. There you go, Wes. That's what it is. Keep it in the game and it's all good. This other line that I have is more of a personal line. I tell this story a lot. I was in Canada. I was playing Ryan Ford in a set, and it was game 4. And on game 4, I put on my headphones, and all of Canada was like, "He's shook! He's shook!" And I'm like kind of laughing, and I'm shaking my head, and then I play, right? Because the whole time they were yelling all kinds of shit. Like, oh, he can't edge guard. He's shook. Or they were yelling all this shit, and I was just playing my game. I was totally fine, right? And they don't understand. The reason I actually put my headphones on is just that one of my best friends, who I talked to on the daily, we were like close, was cheering against me. And like, it's okay if you cheer against me, but I know that I am way closer to you than you are to Ryan Ford. So why the fuck are you cheering against me this loud? Like, I SD'd, and she was like, yeah, let's go, Ryan. And I was like, excuse me? What the fuck? Just imagine it's your boy or your girlfriend or somebody close just cheering when you SD. It wasn't even that Ryan Ford did the sickest combo. I SD'd. And at that point, after 3 games of it, I was like, I'm like too distracted by this. I can't deal with it. I literally talked to her after the event, and she had some kind of like issue with me for some bullshit, but I knew that was a lie. I think she was salty about something else, and then I realized I didn't want to be her friend anymore. It goes deeper than cheering against me in the game. It's been some time coming. There was like other issues I had with her. I was like, dude, you're just not someone I want to be close to anymore. And then we just stopped being friends after that. Yeah, so like those personal relationships are where you could draw a line. All right, so that's my tangent on how I feel about crowds and how Smash should handle them. I disagree when people say that Smashers are too soft when it comes to their crowds. Yeah, people complain sometimes when people are saying shit. I've never really heard of people complain when it was completely invalid. As soon as a Smasher complains about a crowd, a bunch of people in the FGC starts talking about how everyone's soft. And I just wanted to kind of talk about where my standards are at as an actual Smasher who has been around for a long time. Hey, Vish, what's up? Wow, how could she? I'd never cheer against you, especially not on commentary. Yeah. Vish would never cheer against me or say anything bad about me.